Sense? So, and then Starbucks obviously is the duplicatable system. No matter where you go in Starbucks, you know that you're going to get the exact same thing, and that's, again, why they're the #1 coffee franchise in the country. So we've taken the same concept and we just simplified it for you. So you can do them in all sorts of places. My first home meeting was actually in the conference room center of my apartment complex, and I have a picture right here. That picture on the bottom left is my first home meeting. And Mr. Bradford, I think, might have been the one that took that picture. You can't tell, but I'm sitting on the far right at the very end. The guy with the bald head in the back corner right there, with his back to us, that was my best friend. At the end of that meeting, he looked at me and told me I was an idiot. And he said that if I thought this was going to work, he used, worse words than I'm using on stage. But he basically told me this was the dumbest thing I'd ever done. He asked me if I'd already paid, and I said yes. He said you need to call and get your dad's money back because I borrowed the money. He said you get a real job like a real man. Well, that real man is 25 years old living with his parents, and I drive a GTR. So we can say it was all well. Now, every single one of the people in that room said no. Every single one. And I got up at the end of the meeting and told everybody how it wasn't a scam, and James was in the background telling me to shut up. It was probably one of the most uncomfortable PBRs or home meetings he's ever been to. Every single one of them told me no. I called 70-something people to get those 7 there, or 6, or however many it is. They all said no. I had over 40 people flake on me that night. And when they all showed up, I said, oh my God, thank you, you're my only friend. Everybody flaked on me. You're the only one that showed up. And they're thinking, why am I the only idiot that showed up to this thing? What does everybody else know that I didn't know? Long story short, this was probably one of the worst home meetings anybody had ever done. But somebody believed in me enough to call me and invite me to a meeting. Somebody believed in me enough to show up, Mr. Bradford, and help me with that meeting. And somebody believed in me enough to pour into me and teach me how to build this business. It's easy to think that when you see somebody polished on stage that we somehow were just born this way. But the truth of it is almost every single one of us came into this scared, maybe a little bit unsure, a little leery of what we were getting ourselves into, but excited. And it took somebody to make that phone call to make that happen. You always know how much money someone's going to make based on how many home meetings they have scheduled in their calendar. I can always tell people when they say I'm not having any success, I haven't recruited anybody, I can't get anybody to sign up. Say, well, when was the last time you had a home meeting? Oh, well, my home's not really, it's not really a good place for things like that. Say, well, then your bank account's not a good place for money because you're not going to make any. So you have to schedule the home meetings and you have to get uncomfortable and set them up. Here's the thing, is if you have to talk to 100 people before you have one that signs up and goes sapphire, would it be worth it? If you had to talk to 100 people before you signed up one person and went jade, but they shared the product with someone that it completely transformed their life because of the effect they felt on it, somebody like Miss Nina Trevino, would you be okay with that? That won't happen if you don't schedule the meetings and put in the work. Now I have some funny pictures for you. You have to invite people to the home meetings that you set up. Yeah, that's what I look like. Somebody called that guy and said, I want to show you what I'm doing. And you know what's crazy? The guy that called that guy, me, to show me network marketing, I didn't even like him. We weren't even friends. He messaged me on Facebook at midnight and said he had an opportunity he wanted to show me, and I was about to be evicted. I was broke. I was broke, busted, and disgusted. And I was ready for a change, so I didn't care where it came from. I was ready to do anything. But somebody called him. I was the broke friend that ate off everybody's CC's plate when we went to eat pizza. I couldn't afford an $8 buffet. I remember, it's funny, Mr. Bradford and I used to split CC's buffets when we first started. I used to watch him and Mr. Stevens do the same thing when we'd go to CC's together. My point is you can't prejudge anybody. I used to work on the railroad. I was cutting the DAPs and railroad ties so they would fit on the track. In that picture. And I was covered in something called creosote that if it got on your skin, it would make you swell up to the point where you couldn't function. And we had to wear masks and gloves, and that's a Carhartt that I ruined. It was soaked in so much of it. And I was getting paid $12 an hour, and I was breaking my back for that paycheck. Mr. David Nieves, who some of you guys might recognize. Mr. Bradford called a guy with 2 broken feet who had done multiple network marketing companies and never been successful. And because Mr. Bradford didn't prejudge him and said, you know what, I see something in him, he called him, he invited him out. Mr. Nieves took months, I think, to go pearl, and then goes diamond in, what was it, 30 days? 90 days after that. Blue diamond, I think, in 90 days after that. Imagine if somebody would have said, no, David Nieves, that guy, he's done 5 MLMs. He's never gonna make it. Don't waste your time. He has 2 broken feet, how's he gonna